Welcome back this week to another episode of Siouxland Senior Planning. I'm Ethan Huizenga, attorney at the Huizenga Law Firm and the host of Siouxland Senior Planning. Today we're going to answer another listener's question. This time we're going to talk about life insurance, and specifically we're going to talk about whether life insurance is protected from the nursing home cost. Specifically, we're going to talk about whether a life insurance policy is protected from the cost of long-term care. There's a couple of ways that we think about life insurance when we are thinking about expenses during life. The first thing we're worried about is typically the death benefit. And so during life, obviously, the death benefit has not paid out. So if you had a $50,000 life insurance policy that was going to pay out that $50,000 when you passed away, that $50,000 would not be available to pay your long-term care because you have to be deceased in order for the $50,000 to be paid out. So that seems a little obvious, but it's a really important detail to remember because the death benefit is not at risk when we talk about long-term care. However, the policy itself could be at risk depending on how much cash value or what the cash value inside of the policy is when you go to the nursing home. Here's how this works. A policy can have both a death benefit or a face value and a cash value. And the cash value, or maybe cash surrender value is a better way to describe that, is the amount of money that you would get back from the company if you canceled that policy. And so the cash value inside of the policy is an asset. It's available to you if you need it. You can borrow against the cash value, and sometimes you would do that on purpose, maybe because you're using that cash value to pay your premiums so you don't have to write a check to the insurance company anymore. But you could cash that out, and the reason that that's important is because that means that the cash value itself is considered available to help pay your long-term care expense. In a creditor context, right, the nursing home becomes a creditor if you move into a facility and they are entitled to payment. As long as you're making your payments without having to tap into that life insurance, there's no reason to feel like your life insurance policy is at risk. However, if you were going to apply for Medicaid or Title 19, Medicaid says that the cash value inside that policy is available to you and you would have to, quote, spend it down in order to obtain Medicaid benefits. So one of the things that we run into often is an adult child comes in for their aging parent, and we're talking to them about how do we protect the assets that are there. And one of the things that they discover through that whole process is that there's this life insurance policy. And sometimes they don't discover it until well into the planning process. And that's not a bad thing in the sense that there's not anything that they've done wrong or that they made a mistake. But it does create an interesting or maybe difficult issue for them to deal with on behalf of their aging parent. And that's because we now have a policy that is going to prevent that aging parent from getting Medicaid coverage because the cash value in the policy is too high. It's above the resource limit. So remember, if you think back to the times that we've talked about Medicaid and the resource test says you have to have countable resources below $2,000. And if you've got life insurance with cash value, there's a good chance that that cash surrender value is going to push you up over that $2,000 resource limit. So life insurance is considered available, but not to the extent of its death benefit, only to the extent that there's cash surrender value in the policy. So a really simple way to think about that is the difference between term life insurance, which has no cash value, and whole life insurance, which usually has a cash value. Now, that cash value could be minimal if it hasn't been accumulated or if you've used it up, but the value inside of the policy, the cash surrender value, is considered available to help you pay your long-term care bill, and Medicaid in particular will tell you that you have to spend it down before they will give you Medicaid coverage. To figure out how to spend down life insurance cash value, the best thing to do is to work with an elder law attorney and have them assist you in making a plan to account for that cash surrender value. Thanks for listening today. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.